We have a massive development for the Toronto Raptors because a lot has been made about the Raptors potentially keeping their draft pick, future draft selections, and building this core group around Scotty and future assets and all those types of things. Because again, you never know what you're getting with a lottery pick. Heck, even a first round pick. Maybe they could become a star. They could be something amazing in the future. Well, rarely do you see young players available via trade that have that star potential. And in fact, the Raptors acquired one. They brought in a guy at this year's trade deadline that was looked at as a negative asset, a guy that's contract was too big, that wasn't developing, that wasn't growing. Well, you know what? The Toronto Raptors found a star. They found a future potential all-star, dare I say, upper tier all-star, a 1A, a 1B, on a very good Eastern Conference playoff team. We'll see, but RJ Barrett's development has been ridiculous. And in last night's game against the Denver Nuggets, it was on full display, and I feel like we've been talking about a lot of stories over, since the trade deadline has gone down, right? With younger players, Grady Dick, Abaji, right? All those two-way guys or players that are end of the bench that have been brought up, sent down, all these types of players. And one guy that just has kind of been overlooked, has kind of just not been appreciated enough, has been RJ Barrett and the ridiculous performance he's been having for the Toronto Raptors since being traded away from the New York Knicks. And in last night's game against the Denver Nuggets, once again, despite being sick, despite being ill, RJ Barrett came out for the Toronto Raptors and still 26 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists, 10 and 20 from the field, pretty efficient, knocking down his free throws as well. That's been the one Achilles heel for him since he's joined the Toronto Raptors, but over the course of his career, he's traditionally been an amazing free throw shooter, so not too worried about that, especially where his three-point percentages have been off the charts as well since joining Toronto. I wanted to say, and again, I'll talk about last night's game because another really solid sort of, to call it a tanking performance for this Raptors team because they had a hot start, they had a major lead, but obviously playing against the league's best team in the Denver Nuggets, it's tough to keep those types of leads, especially as a younger team. And then you can also point to some decisions by Darko Rajakovic, maybe rewarding some better play. Looking at Jalen McDaniels, who did probably have one of his better games as a Toronto Raptors last night, but, not throwing in Kelly Olynyk and RJ Barrett at certain key crucial moments, that led Denver to be able to come back and the Raptors to pursue that sort of 6 overall pick. But I digress. RJ Barrett, I don't want to lose sight of it. I don't want to lose track of it because it has been tumultuous to say the least. Regards of lineups, regards of players that have been in and out and these types of things since RJ Barrett was traded here. The Raptors are a team in transition. They're a team that's readjusting their roster. And I've seen some people say, oh, it's going to be a long and crazy rebuild. We're going to hope we get our draft pick for this season so we can, speed this thing up and hopefully get a guy that could become an all-star. And that's the case. Right, I hope we get our pick so we can draft a player that has that star upside, all those types of things. But again, Manuel quickly didn't play last night, but with Scotty Barnes, who's been an all-star this season, again, took a little step back and after entering that number one role, the same way Pascal Siakam did, the same way Kyle Lowry did, all these types of guys, their initial transition to being, a complimentary young and rising star to the guy. It takes a little bit of time. That's why it sucks that he went down with injury this year. But with Scotty Barnes, who's an all-star this season, and then on top of it, you have an RJ Barrett who is looking like, I don't want to say at worst, because again, he can regress, he has had ups and downs over the course of his career, but the RJ Barrett we've seen in Toronto at 23 years old feels like, at worst, a complimentary star in today's NBA. Emmanuel quickly looks like an upper echelon starting point guard in today's NBA. And we're going to talk about Kelly Olynyk. We still have Jakob Poeltl. We still have a lot of young guys that could take some leaps in the coming years. I think the Raptors, not trading OG Anunoby for picks, but 2 players with an immense amount of potential. I am just amped up, and it's crazy to see their development since joining the Toronto Raptors. So even in losses, even in games like this, where, again, younger team playing against the Denver Nuggets, super short-handed, you're going to lose that game, but the level of compete, the style of basketball, and the bright spots that are showing for a team that lacks size, that lacks that sort of complete roster feel. We are in transition right now. I am absolutely amped up and want to just dedicate a whole sort of segment portion of this video. Again, I'll talk about the Nuggets game, but to RJ Barrett, because again, He's a guy that's been trashed on for a long time, playing in New York, in that Zion Jaw draft that, he's not, they should have got a star there in New York. And he ended up getting traded even though he got the max contract and all that. I think he's a player that deserves his flowers. And, obviously Jaw and Zion have had better careers so far, but, given health stuff, off the court stuff, and the emergence of RJ Barrett here now at this point, who's to say he won't be the best player in that draft class? So, shout out to RJ Barrett again. 26 points, banger from him last night. And Kelly Olynyk as well is one of the teams, especially with, Chris Boucher going down. We'll discuss that in the next video. But basically, Kelly Olynyk, as, Jakob Poeltl's out. Boucher's out now. Like, the Raptors were thin on the front lines after all these trades at this year's trade deadline. He's stepped up, stepped in, and proving why that trade with the Utah Jazz was a nice transaction for the Toronto Raptors. He spaces the floor. He complements his team really well. He facilitates out there on the offensive end. And just looking at it, no one's stopping Nikola Jokic. Jokic had a big game in this one here tonight, right? 35 points, 12 assists, 17 rebounds, 6 steals, 2 blocks. What a monster Nikola Jokic is. But, maybe didn't stop there. But Kelly Olynyk has been better on the defensive end than I expected. So, Kelly, a guy that I think has been a nice piece. And when we're talking about sort of sped up rebuilds, will this team be competitive next season? I'm not sure. I'm not sold. We'll see what moves actually happen in the offseason. But having Kelly Olynyk as well as the Jakob Poeltl sort of running your front line, I think that's a really nice complementary duo. And Kelly Olynyk is proving the value the Raptors got at the deadline and with his sort of 2-year extension. So really happy with RJ and Kelly Olynyk in this one. Really got the Raptors a big lead in this game. So that's great to see. Abaji, 8 points. He's getting back into his rhythm a bit. Again, he's playing with knee soreness, but defensively, I think he's doing a good job despite dealing with foul trouble last night. Grady Dick as well, again, has had some ups and downs. He benefits greatly. Young 3-point shooters benefit immensely. Even vets, even the JJ Redicks, the Kyle Korvers. Kyle Korver was an all-star at one point, right? They benefit immensely when you have a proper sort of facilitator out there on the court that can get you your shots. Get the ball in your hands in the ideal location. Scotty Barnes could do that for Grady Dick. Emmanuel Quickley, when he's out there on the court, can do that for Grady Dick. But unfortunately, those guys aren't out there, so he's been a little bit inconsistent as of late, which would be expected. However, 17 points last night, did a really good job facilitating. I thought, again, I've said it from the jump, even when he was missing his shots and Raptors fans were concerned, as we should have been, because a 3-point shooter that couldn't shoot, there's concerns regarding that because the game is built around that 3-point shot. But even when he was struggling, he showed the intangibles of a player that just had really good feel for the game. A good sort of, he could drive well, he could facilitate, he makes the right passes. Again, he's not Steve Nash making dimes or, Russell Westbrook finishing at the rim, prime Russell Westbrook, but he's capable of doing those things. He makes good decisions, and that complemented with, an elite 3-point stroke. The potential and future for Grady Dick is on another level. I mean, 17, 7, 2 steals, 4 rebounds. He's hustling the defensive end. I mean, the second half of the season for Grady Dick is more than we could have asked for from when we drafted him. So very, very happy with that. And then, Bruce Brown, you look at the box score, you might say, hey, that's solid. 13 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, but my goodness, this man looks checked out there on the basketball court. He does not look super ready to go, super ready to rock for this Toronto Raptors team, but that is what it is. Bruce Brown, hopefully we're still able to get a first-round pick for him in the offseason. McDaniels, I want to give credit because I do think Darko Rajakovic put him in there, put him into the lineup to not too specifically, but kept him out there for a longer stretch, which led to the Denver Nuggets coming back. I think that's a strategic decision by Darko, not a poor coaching decision, but that is what it is. In this night, I want to give credit to Jalen McDaniels. He looks like an NBA player at least. 12 points, 3 rebounds, 3 steals. Made some of his shots. Again, he's not producing the same way Olynyk or RJ Barrett were at the forward spots, but I mean, I don't want to just continuously bash on the guy if he has been not horrible. So that was his performance last night. Jordan Nwora, again, has been cooking in limited minutes lately. Didn't have the most explosive game last night off the bench, but was fine. Also we have Javon Freeman Liberty. No points, no real impact in his 12 minutes of action, but didn't do anything horrible. But off the bench, the real story, especially with Boucher out now, is Jonte Porter, who again is a younger player. 3-point stroke is there. The feel for the game is there. Again, the 5 assists indicate that. Had a career high 14 points and had a cool moment. You know, him and his brother sharing the jerseys, getting that post game picture, sort of rocking. So I don't know. Just a cool game for the Toronto Raptors. Again, the tank is in full force. The Toronto Raptors are making a push to the bottom of the Eastern, or to the bottom of the league standing, so we keep that draft pick. Again, with all the injuries we had last night, quickly Trent, Boucher all out. You know, obviously Scotty and Jakob still out of the game. The Raptors didn't have a shot in this one, even though they made a push. They made a legitimate run at the Denver Nuggets. So great to see that push. Great to see some positives in this game. Let me know what you guys think. You guys are the best to make it this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.